365 Sports is brought to you by BetterHelp. Give online therapy a try at betterhelp.com/365 and get on your way to being your best self. What are some things you want to keep the same about yourself or your life in 2024? Were you already crushing it? Think opposite of New Year, New You. Around New Year's, we get obsessed with how to change ourselves instead of just expanding on what we're already doing right. Maybe you finally organized one part of your space and you want to tackle another, or maybe you're taking your supplements every morning and now you want to actually eat breakfast too. Therapy helps you find your strengths so you can ditch the extreme resolutions and make changes that really stick. BetterHelp.com is helpful for learning positive coping skills and how to set boundaries. It empowers you to be the best version of yourself. It isn't just for those who've experienced major trauma. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Celebrate the progress you've already made. Visit betterhelp.com/365 today and get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/365.
Join me, 48 Hours correspondent Erin Moriarty, on my podcast, My Life of Crime, as I take on true crime investigations like no other. This season, I'm looking into the labyrinth of crime and secrets within families. I'm cutting straight to the evidence and talking to the people directly involved, including investigators and the families of victims. Listen to My Life of Crime with Erin Moriarty wherever you get your podcasts.
This is a Rogue Media Network podcast.
Caroline, you should tell them about the newest thing that Bloody Happy Hour is doing.
A Patreon.
It's a Patreon. What is that?
That means you're basically like a VIP member, and you get some perks. You maybe get like merch a little earlier. You get
Exclusive merch.
You could get first dibs on signing up for a live show. You get episodes with no commercials.
You get our video because our video is no longer available on YouTube. It is only on Patreon, and the most important to me is you get videos of our live shows, but also bonus episodes each month. But if you're on a Patreon, you're VIP, you're going to get more.
Because I always have a lot of details I want to go to. I can law-splain. I might read a book.
This is also going to be the exclusive place that Dirty Chat is going to go to. In order to hear the full content, it's going to be Patreon. Where do they go again?
Patreon.com/BloodyHappyHour.
Hey y'all, I'm April.
And I'm Caroline.
And
this is your Bloody Happy Hour.
Caroline, are you ready for this?
This is your newest guilty pleasure.
It's the bloodiest part of your week.
Did we say something about it also being happy hour?
Show did.
Because we about to be sipping on some murder. Bloody Happy Hour.
Hey y'all, this is April.
And this is Caroline.
This is your Bloody Happy Hour podcast.
And
And I'm sipping on some whiskey.
I was just going to ask.
What are you sipping on?
Well, I'm currently sipping on some vodka with my V plastic bottle of vodka over there, and I'm eyeing your whiskey, so I think that might come into play in a little bit, because this story needs the whiskey.
So I won in a Secret Santa. Is that what it's called?
Mm-hmm.
Slain Irish whiskey.
That's actually
triple cask.
That's actually the perfect whiskey for the podcast because it's slain.
And it is actually very good.
It is, and apparently it's some kind of double barrel or whatever.
Triple
barrel?
I don't know what that means.
Wow.
And
that means it goes through 3 barrels to be so good that they had to do it through 3 barrels.
Times.
That is so legit. You are like literally legit.
And I just brushed my teeth, and it doesn't even taste gross. You know, when you just brush your teeth and you taste something.
And speaking of teeth, I just had my teeth cleaned, and I had my tooth put back in. So glory be to God that now I won't swallow my tooth.
Praise Oh, please don't swallow your tooth.
And I've not been doing meth, I promise. I just have.
Why do you have your tooth fall out?
Well, it's a crown.
You used to do meth.
It's a cap crown.
Oh.
I think my family has bad genetics for teeth.
Teeth.
Even though I have very straight teeth and I've never had braces, I think there's some underlying, or it just could be me. But the glue never sticks and it just keeps popping. I may need a new dentist.
Yeah, yeah.
Does anybody?
Tell your dentist not to use Elmer's glue.
I think I tasted it and I was like,
Let me tell you, when Trent was like probably 7, we went to the dentist, and he's been going to the dentist his whole life, and they did an x-ray, and they saw he had like a random tooth like at the top of his mouth.
yeah.
And you can't even see it like outside. You see it only in an x-ray. And so it was so weird. And I was like, Trent, that was your twin that you ate. That was what? You had a twin when you were in my belly and you ate him. And so the dentist looked at me like I was crazy. And I was like, I think about some of these things. I tell my kids.
Did you say that in front of the dentist?
Yeah. Yeah.
What did the dentist say? He was
He
like,
just-
oh, shit, I'm calling CPS right now.
Oh, yeah. My poor child. I do send him to therapy now.
Wow, that is quite interesting. I've
I
never.
know. How does stuff like that just crawl up to my old head? But it's the first thing I thought about.
I think it's a great response. I love the wit. I love witty people. So that's. I mean, I love it.
I know. It's like when people have tumors and sometimes they have hair and teeth and like eyes.
The tumor does.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah.
What about placentas?
I don't know. I don't even know what that is. I just know it's
That's people
edible.
eat them. It's. I don't think it is edible. That's the whole issue. It isn't edible.
I think you could put it in some olive oil and eat it.
Okay, well, let me go have a baby real quick and we'll test it out. I'll say you want
Invite me over.
Okay.
Oh, goodness. You told us on Tuesday's episode that we're going to Plano, and I just can't even think of what the story could be.
Okay, well, maybe this trailer from the Peacock original will help refresh you. And this is also a podcast, a several series podcast. And I know y'all have got to know who this is, but let's just play the trailer just to see if you can figure it out.
Good morning, I'm Dr. Christopher Duntsch. Today we're going to be operating on Rose Keller. Patient presented with severe back pain diagnosed as a herniated disc. It is important we are in and out with as little fanfare as possible. So, mouth shut, ears open. Let's begin.
Hey, doctor. I heard you came across some of Christopher Dunsch's surgeries.
Sir, there's a lot of bleeding.
Focus on your job.
How is the patient?
Perfect. There's a hemorrhage here, you need to fix it.
So there were no complications?
I don't have complications.
I can't make sense of this. It's like he knew what he was supposed to do. And he did the exact opposite.
I could have told you the guy was a hack. What did he do?
Dorothy Burke walked in all on her own, and now she's brain dead.
Today will be minimally invasive.
He turned him into a quadriplegic.
Work ethic was second to none.
Well, Ted Bundy was a good worker, too.
We all make mistakes.
But not you.
No man.
Duntsch has 2 deaths. Texas has executed people for less.
All due respect, Dr. Kirby, you don't understand the law.
You don't understand who we're after.
Duntsch is never gonna stop on his own. You have to protect the public and suspend his license.
My patients mean everything to me, and the longer I'm here, the longer they're in pain.
You heard these people. You saw what he did to them.
I swear I will make sure this never happens to anyone else.
If you take my license in Texas, there's an entire world out there.
The system is broken.
I have a suggestion. It's a bit extreme. He's either the most incompetent surgeon I've ever crossed paths with, or he's a sociopath.
Dr. Dad.
Dr. Death. And now I may interchange his name from Dr. Duntsch to Dr. Douche to Dr. Death, but either way, they all start with D's.
All the same.
And they're basically all the same.
Can I tell you, I asked my back doctor if he was Dr. Death number 2, because I wasn't sure of him.
I have a back issue right now, and he mainly did like herniated, like he did back stuff a lot, and you should ask him.
I did.
Why did you ask him that?
Because it's the first thing I think about when I go in the doctor's office, and he was looking at my back, and I don't know. I asked him, I asked his nurse, and I looked up reviews, and asked the people in the lobby.
Well, let me tell you, it doesn't matter. Well, maybe I guess if the nurses would say something, but like the review, like, because with this, people researched, and he had great reviews, and he had all the things that he seemed legit, but there is a big problem with getting a surgeon or a doctor of that caliber, like of pursuing them legally or getting them like not disbarred. But like
in the state of Texas, because Texas sides with the medical staff.
At least they used to. Well, they might still now, but this has definitely changed a lot. So this is all between May 2011 and June 2013 when Dr. Christopher Duntsch, douche, performed surgery on 38 people, 32 left with life-changing injuries, and in some cases completely paralyzed, and 2 would die. So here's the story of Dr. Christopher Duntsch death.
Scares the shit out of me.
So in Garland, Texas, November 2011, 54-year-old Kelly Martin and her husband Don were decorating for Christmas. Don was a police officer. Kelly was a teacher. They'd been together since college. They had 2 kids, Lauren and Caitlin. Mom Kelly was grabbing boxes down from the attic, and she missed a step on the ladder, and she falls down, and she felt a twinge in her back. So I can relate, because I had to do squats the other day, and now I got a twinge in my back, and I got issues.
And now a word from our sponsors. .365 Sports is brought to you by BetterHelp. Give online therapy a try at betterhelp.com/365 and get on your way to being your best self. What are some things you want to keep the same about yourself or your life in 2024? Were you already crushing it? Think opposite of New Year, New You. Around New Year's, we get obsessed with how to change ourselves instead of just expanding on what we're already doing right. Maybe you finally organized one part of your space and you want to tackle another, or maybe you're taking your supplements every morning and now you want to actually eat breakfast too. Therapy helps you find your strengths so you can ditch the extreme resolutions and make changes that really stick. BetterHelp.com is helpful for learning positive coping skills and how to set boundaries. It empowers you to be the best version of yourself. It isn't just for those who've experienced major trauma. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Celebrate the progress you've already made. Visit betterhelp.com/365 today and get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/365.
This episode is brought to you by Marvel Studios Echo. All episodes streaming January 9th, only on Hulu and Disney+. Rated TV MALV. Viewer discretion advised. Maya Lopez has betrayed her mentor, the notorious Kingpin. Now on the run, she returns to her hometown to prepare for the biggest fight of her life. Don't miss Marvel Studios' hardest-hitting series yet. An epic 5-episode event. Marvel Studios Echo. All episodes streaming January 9th, only on Hulu and Disney+.
But she was like, I'm going to push through. It's fine. Like, it's no big deal. Let me get through the holidays. It's probably like a pinched nerve or a pulled muscle. Yeah. And so finally she like goes to like physical therapy. She's got painkillers, muscle relaxers, but nothing was working. And so she her doctor recommended a fantastic neurosurgeon who was new to the area. But if he's a I guess neurosurgeons can do, because that's like brain. But yeah. And that would be Dr. Christopher Duntsch. Like lunch with a D.
Okay.
Duntsch. So he was very well respected. He was highly sought after. He was praised by doctors everywhere. And so she decided she would give him a visit because obviously he's got glowing reviews. So her and her husband are like, they're at ease. They're like, yeah, this is great. This is he tells them it's a very routine surgery. It'll take 45 minutes and that's it. And this is one of the simplest operations a neurosurgeon can perform, by the way. And Kelly asked if there were any bad outcomes or deaths on any of his surgeries, and he replied, no, knock on wood.
Knock on wood?
Yeah. Like, no, not yet.
Yeah.
Let's hope it doesn't start. So her surgery is scheduled for March 2012. Surgery day comes. They go to the hospital. The procedure, 45 minutes passes, an hour passes, an hour and a half passes, and now it's like double the time. So husband's getting worried. He goes to talk to the nurse to check on her, and 20 minutes later, Dr. Duntsch comes out, and he says that surgery went well. Kelly's moving around, but she's in a lot of pain, so he upped the medication, and she was actually going to have to go to the ICU and stay overnight. But she's fine. And husband Don was not allowed to go into the ICU because they were still working on her. But she's fine. So I don't. Yeah.
No.
It was not very reassuring to him. And he got a gut feeling and he called his daughters to come up to the hospital because he just had this bad feeling. 2 hours later, Don and his daughters are up at the hospital, and then they're in the waiting room, and they start to see an ICU physician, Dr. Duntsch, and the anesthesiologist starts walking towards them. At that moment, they basically die inside, and they are like, this can't be good, this can't be good. And the ICU physician is the one, and he said, we did everything we could. Kelly Martin died after this simple routine procedure, but what had gone wrong? I tell you now. Kelly Martin was undergoing a routine back operation when Dr. Duntsch cut through her spinal cord and severed her artery. Duntsch continued operating despite signs that Kelly was losing massive amounts of blood. He refused to abort the surgery even after a trauma surgeon, colleague, and an anesthesiologist warned him about blood loss. He refused to acknowledge anything was wrong, hindering the ICU's team's efforts to save her. And when Kelly woke up from the anesthesia, she was screaming and clawing at her legs, forcing the ICU team to re-anesthetize, whatever the word is, to put her back under. And Dr. Duntsch said that, yes, they had to, so they re-anesthesiologist her. Dr. Duntsch did not go into the ICU at any point in time. He did not go check on her. He did not go to the waiting room to talk to the family. He didn't do anything. And instead, like, you typically want to attend to your patient, I think. But he didn't. And she ended up going into hemorrhagic cardiac arrest.
Damn.
And she bled to death. Don's world had just ended. He was so mad. Every emotion. The medical examiner confirmed that she bled to death, that one of her arteries was sliced, and this is what opened the giant can of worms into this guy.
So at the time of when she's dying, he probably don't know like what caused it.
Yeah, Don or who?
The husband. The husband, like.
Oh yeah, he's like, what the hell? This is supposed to be some like routine, like minor 45-minute like in and out surgery. And now, but like when she went, I think once she went to ICU, they're like, oh
What's
shit,
happening?
like this is not what's supposed to happen right now. And
yeah.
So
so they did an autopsy, and that's what hey, are you empty?
Yeah, that was my signal for you to you just put a little, fill it out. So let me tell you a little bit about this Dr. Duntsch. He's born in 1971 in Montana. Originally, he was going to try to play football, maybe go pro, but he struggled at being good.
Oh.
And at following orders, and he struggled with basic drills. So you're not going to go very far if you have that situation. He transferred multiple times. He eventually was like, oh, my football dream is over. I guess I'll go to medical school. Quite the change. So in 1995, he received his undergrad degree from University of Memphis. Then from there, he was in medical school. He was allowed to join the Alpha Omega Medical Honor Society and I heard this and I was like, what? And started working with Russian scientists on research programs, gaining $3 million in funding, whatever that means. So he started his surgical residency at the University of Tennessee and was running 2 labs. Okay.
Wow.
This all sounds fancy.
Yeah.
I'm no surgeon. Clearly, I'm no doctor, but for those of you who are,
it sounds great.
When
sounds
I hear $3 million, exactly. And he has a 12-page resume, which I will tell you about later. So he started his surgical residency at the University of Tennessee, running 2 labs. Can you imagine that he was charming and smooth talking?
I was going to say he had to have been
charming,
good with his mouth.
Smooth talking with a glowing 12-page resume. People spoke highly of him. They sought him out, but despite all of these accolades and glowing reviews, shit's about to unravel real quick. So his resume said that he earned a doctorate in Okay, we're about to get a little sciencey, but these are just the facts. Okay. His resume said that he had earned a doctorate in microbiology from the prestigious St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital, but there was no such program running at the hospital at that time. So he claimed he had gotten his PhD from the University of Tennessee Health Center, but it appears that he is in no yearbooks from the university during that period.
It's bullshit.
Yes. So the school declined, but then the school declined to verify claims citing federal privacy laws. So since college, since college, he had been a drug user and a big drinker. During his residency, when his drug use escalated, and he was frequently doing LSD, cocaine, and illegally getting his hands on prescription pain pills like OxyContin.
I can't.
His ex-girlfriend Megan initially said that it was just something that he did occasionally. Well, that sounds familiar. Dirty Chad, you little dirty Chad, you.
Sounds like Dirty Chad.
Because it was just occasion, but clearly not the case, as many of us know. In one instance, he was on this full binge night. He was doing drugs, drinking vodka. He had no sleep. Girlfriend says he grabs his stuff, his scrubs, puts them on, and he goes straight to the hospital for a surgery.
So we're in his hospital career now. We're done with college.
Yeah, that's all we know about the college.
Okay.
Yes. So basically, he goes to college, he gets his stuff, then he's starting to get into his drug usage, and he dates this girl, and I guess I don't know what this is his residency. This is whenever it escalates. I don't know if you're still in college during your residency. I'm not sure how that works. But, he was drinking. Did I say he was drinking vodka? Yeah. He was,
doing it all.
A full night of drug taking, drinking vodka, no sleep, grabbed his scrubs, and goes and talks to patients. She was horrified because she's like, motherfucker, you've been up all night, and
was
I
she
know
a nurse or something too?
It just said girlfriend at the time. But so she just was like, pretty sure you shouldn't be doing anything with patients if you're literally you've gone from you're still awake from your night before and you're on a binge. His drug of choice was cocaine, although when he would come down after binges, this is when he would rely on OxyContin, Xanax, alcohol, because you gotta get your high, but then you gotta bring yourself back down. It's this vicious cycle, it's just vicious. So he typically would start his days off with vodka, orange juice, and a line of cocaine. And a lot of the nurses said that he was out of control. They saw him doing coke right before he would go into surgery. He joked about it, and he called them his neurostimulants, believing that it made him better and more alert. Gosh. So then he was reported, and he was asked to take a drug test. He refused the drug test. He was then sent to an impaired physician program where he was deposed. Well, as he's deposed, he's giving the fifth to everything. So he's not answering any of their questions about what they're asking. So he's asked about, have you used drugs while working on patients? Have you been under the influence of cocaine while taking care of patients? Plead the fifth, plead the fifth, plead the fifth, plead the fifth. All the time, plead the fifth. So, and apparently he is slurring and he wasn't really concentrating, and despite all of these complaints and his refusal to participate in any of these tests, he had completed less than 100 surgeries. Typically, a resident performs close to 1,000.
Wow.
And he is still allowed to finish his residency.
And we still don't even know if he's really got a real degree.
Mm-mm.
So either Tennessee doesn't want to confirm that he does because they don't want to be associated with him, or he really hasn't, and they don't want to make.
I think he has something, but I think he just definitely embellished a bunch of stuff on his resume. So he has something.
Yeah.
Enough to where you get hired, right? You have to. But he could have faked his whole resume.
But usually they confirm your transcripts.
Well, he could have had a fake. Listen, people can fake this shit.
Oh, I know.
But,
well, and that's assuming that your HR does their job. But if you get a job that requires a master's degree, they have to get your transcript from the institution, a certified one. So you can't say, oh, here's my transcript, because you can bullshit that. Mm-hmm. But that's assuming that the people you work for are doing their due diligence.
Mm-hmm. Well, in 2011, he joined Minimally Invasive Spine Institute in North Dallas with a $600,000 advance.
My gosh.
Oh, just wait. He was shortly given surgical rights at Baylor Regional Medical Center in Plano on a $50,000 a month salary. A month?
He could get all the
$50,000 a month? I had to double check this, and I still don't think I'm right. There's no way. But is it?
That's a lot.
I need a surgeon.
Yeah.
Immediately. If you're a surgeon out there, listen, you can slide right up into my DMs, and I'm not opposed.
$50,000 a month.
A month.
And a $600,000 advance.
A month. I'm deceased. So the recommendation that landed him the job, the recommendations saying that he was like bright and professional and hardest working person they'd ever met, and so whatever. I guess he's getting these like very great reviews from everybody. Blah 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 blah. So for hospitals, surgeons are worth millions in revenue. Okay, this is why this is a thing. On average, $2.5 million per year. It is not uncommon to get operating privileges at other hospitals. So now you can be a surgeon at this hospital and this and the A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, all the way. You can go hop over to every single hospital.
Yeah.
So this is how he was able to get work across Dallas. So a couple of months after he had finished his training, he met another doctor, another surgeon named Dr. Randall Kirby. Dr. Kirby's going to come into play a lot. So Dr. Kirby said his first conversation he had with Dr. Duntsch was basically revolved around Duntsch telling him that he was one of the best surgeons in Dallas and he's the only one that a patient could trust. And
to me, that's all red flag.
Yes. And immediately Dr. Kirby was like, he's arrogant. He's aggressive.
Yeah.
I don't like him. He just had a bad taste in his mouth from the beginning. And Dr. Duntsch went around and he was like, I want to clean the town up. And Kirby's like, okay, dude, like, calm down. Like, get off your coke and calm down. Clearly he did not. And other people saw this cockiness in him as well. And just, they were like, well, I mean, I guess it's just due to the fact that he's just a very talented surgeon and he knows it. And so he's cocky. Okay.
No.
But it didn't take long for opinions to change. And he actually performed, this is the only surgery that he did at the Spine Institute, the one that I'm about to tell you. So after this surgery was done, he immediately went on a trip to Vegas. These opinions changed quickly after he had done this minimally invasive Spine Institute surgery. But this surgery, which I haven't told you yet, basically it was what caused they asked him to leave after the surgery. So then he does the surgery, he screws it up, they tell him to leave, he goes to Vegas, he's partying, drug use, everything's going wild. Another ex-girlfriend is in the picture and is like, he's like so unhinged. So much so that she is getting emails like he's in Vegas and he's emailing a nurse assistant and he's emailing his ex-girlfriend. And he's just these long ass emails. Within the emails, this is what part of it says. I'm really building an empire. Anyone close to me thinks that I am something between God, Einstein, and the Antichrist.
Oh my gosh.
Because I can do everything I want and cross every disciplined boundary like it's a playground and never lose. I'm ready to leave the love and kindness and goodness and patience that I mix with everything else that I am and become a cold-blooded killer.
What?
Quote unquote. Those were quotes. He went on more emails, references drug and alcohol abuse. There's like cuss words and abusive language and all kinds of stuff. And I can post these emails if y'all want to read the whole emails. But this is kind of like beginning of what is about to come.
Did you tell us what happened during the surgery?
I'm about to.
Oh.
So December 2011 is. And I'm going to tell you probably about 4 of the people, and there's a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm just giving you a few examples.
Mm-hmm.
December 2011, Ken Fennell. This guy is just before Kelly Martin. Kelly Martin is who we talked about at the very beginning with Kelly and Dawn. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So this is just before Kelly, and Dr. Duntsch had operated twice on this guy, Ken Fennell. He was his first patient in North Texas. The surgery did not help fix his back pain. I wonder why, which is because Dr. Death had operated on the wrong area. Silly guy. He admitted to this mistake and said he would correct it with the second surgery. Ken was desperate to fix his pain. And so he's like, yeah, let's go. Like, okay, let's do another one. Fix it. Ken woke up the second time and said that his legs were like a bonfire burning him. And something had gone wrong. He had no idea what. He left the hospital and was basically relying on a motorized wheelchair from that point on.
No. When he did that first one, then he goes to Vegas and then he gets fired?
Well,
or he does all these and then goes to Vegas to get fired?
Yeah, I think he does all these and then he goes to Vegas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then it's like, okay, let me come back and tell you about the things that he did that caused him to get fired and go to Vegas.
Okay. Okay.
So this guy, Lee Passmore, he was an investigator at Collin County Medical Examiner's Office. He went and did back surgery, so this guy did back surgery, but the pain returned. And then he went to his pain specialist, and the pain specialist referred Dr. Duntsch. So surgery was booked immediately because he's like, okay, great. You've recommended this guy. And there was also, along with Dr. Duntsch, was this vascular surgeon named Mark Hoyle, who assisted in the operations. Because a lot of times you have your assistants, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So this Dr. Hoyle is with him, watching him do the surgery. And he's actually watching in horror as Dr. Duntsch begins to cut out a ligament around the spinal cord that should never have been touched. Right away, Lee, the patient, starts bleeding profusely. Dr. Hoyle said the operating room was like a sea of red, and Dr. Duntsch left hardware in Lee's spine.
Oh my gosh.
And he stripped the screw so it could not be moved. Dr. Hoyle said, he's like, I can't watch this anymore. I got to get out of here. He said, I can't watch this anymore. He tried to stop the Dr. Duntsch from operating. Blocks the incision area, tries to stop Duntsch from continuing, looks him in the eyes and says, we need to talk about this. That's dangerous. Even the attitude is dangerous. I've done 5,000 of these and I've never seen this done before. But that did not stop Dr. Duntsch because he went on, and Dr. Hoyle went and said he would never work with Duntsch again, left the operating room. Lee Passmore, the patient, did end up surviving the ordeal, but he lives with chronic pain and has a lot of trouble walking and balancing. Okay. Moving on.
Dr. Hoy tried, but I still think he could have done more. He could have called security, got him out of there. He could have done.
There must be some
on Grey's Anatomy, they do more.
Level of what do you say? Not prominence, but if you're above the other person in your title. I can't think of the word. But and maybe it's you don't question the person. I don't know. I feel like that's kind of how it is. January 2012, Barry Morguloff. We're calling him Barry. He's the owner of a pool service company. He was left with bone fragments in his spinal canal after Dr. Duntsch tried to pull a damaged disc out of his back with a grabbing tool.
Okay.
I don't know what you're supposed to use, but it's not a grabbing tool. Okay, I don't know what a grabbing tool is, but you're not supposed to use a grabbing tool. I think you should probably use other things. And then he refused to give Barry any pain medicine because he was like, oh, he's a drug seeker. He doesn't need this pain medicine. Eventually, Barry lost most of the function on his left side. He would have to walk with a cane and eventually would require a wheelchair. Dr. Kirby is one who assisted with the surgery and said the operation, in the spectrum of neurosurgeon, one who does it for a living, that this procedure is probably one of the easiest that they do on a daily basis. So you shouldn't fuck this up because you do this daily, bro. So Kirby's sitting here watching, and he watched as Dr. Duntsch went right in without using the proper tools, grabbing at things that he shouldn't have been, haphazardly continuing to make mistakes, even if he had he would have to like Dr. Kirby would have to point out the correct anatomy to him.
Damn.
It's like, why are you, I don't understand how you can be approved to do all this stuff.
And you always have scrub techs in there where your nurse
yes,
knows it just as well as you do. So
yeah.
Were your nurses idiots too?
I don't think they were. I think they were like wanting to stop
every time.
But there's what I don't know what it is. Why
Authority.
can you not go to? Why can you not? Like, what are you scared of? What is the guy going to do to you? Are you like? It's clear that whatever this hierarchy is, that they've frightened these nurses and sub-surgeons or whatever you want to call them. I don't know.
They should have all lost their shit.
I think they did. No, I think they attempted, but it's like so hard to get it through to the board because they don't want to deal with the bad press and they don't want to deal with the money situation. It's the whole thing with Johns Hopkins that's going on right now with Maya and all that bullshit. Don't get me started on Judge Tuft. Anyways, that's a whole different thing. So Dr. Kirby was like, "Hey, you're messing all this shit up. Let me do it. I'll take over the surgery." Dr. Douche was like, "No, fuck that. I am not letting you take over." No, he's like, "No, I know what I'm doing, bitch. Bye." Rude. After another surgeon then later on tried to repair the damage from this one, but Barry, the patient, was so depressed and sick that he contemplated taking his own life, believing it was the only way out of his mental and physical pain. He even, luckily he had a wife and children. They were able to like pull him out of his darkness. And he had to do intensive therapy, but he survived but he's still for sure scarred. Then we have Jerry Summers. Jerry Summers is like a bestie of Duntsch. He is a longtime friend. They used to live together. They know each other like really well.
No way.
They would party together, all the things. So he came to Plano and he was like, "Oh, I have to get some neck vertebrae infused, but I also have herniated disc. So I'm going to hit you up for my disc because you're my bro and you're my friend and you can do my surgery." During the operation, Duntsch damaged Jerry's vertebral. There you go. Vertebral artery, and the bleeding wouldn't stop. He lost almost 120 milliliters or 2 liters.
Okay.
So it's like 2 giant like soda bottles.
Yes.
Like soda bottles.
Half a gallon
of blood. And more, which is more than a fifth of his blood volume in almost 24 hours. The typical amount of blood lost, almost 24 hours, the typical amount of blood. Yeah. So he lost way too much blood. Way too much. But also, Dr. Douche had packed the area with so much anticoagulant that it squeezed Jerry's spine. I think he just packed in a bunch of, like, is that gauze?
No, anticoagulant in that, like, so your don't blood clot?
Maybe so it's gauze. The effect of retarding or inhibiting, you can look it up.
Yeah, so coagulation of blood is like so your blood doesn't clot. So it's just something that thins your blood out, I would think.
So it says he packed his area.
It's a substance.
Well, I guess he just packed it up with this anticoagulant. Coagulant.
Heparin or warfarin are examples.
So he basically squeezed this Jerry's spine, and Jerry woke up and he said he couldn't feel anything. He had no sensation in either arm or legs. He was now paralyzed and rendered a quadriplegic. He would later require 24/7 care, around the clock, all the things, as he's lying. And then as he's like in the ICU, knowing he would never recover, he looks at his girlfriend and he says, "Kill me, I want to die."
Oh my gosh.
Dr. Duntsch never once went in to check on him in the ICU. Who is a friend of his, who he parties with, a longtime friend. And he never went to see how I was or to explain how anything happened. Nothing. Bye. He said bye-bye. Jerry told the nurses that Duntsch had been doing cocaine before he did the surgery. He was like, oh yeah, he was doing cocaine. We did it together last night. Yeah, like he's like
Jerry's the patient?
Yes, he's patient.
And Jerry let him do the surgery?
This is what he says. But then he later goes and he's like, oh, actually, I just said that because I was mad and I felt like he fucked me up, and so I'm pissed at him. And
so now they're not going to believe anything you say.
The claim was taken seriously, and Dr. Duntsch was ordered to take a drug test. But
it's out of your system really quick.
However, the drug test would never happen because Dr. Duntsch claimed that he got lost on his way to the drug testing place, and he actually passed a separate psychological evaluation, and then 3 weeks later, he was allowed to start operating again.
Oh my God!
He was instructed to stick to minor procedures, which is great. Good job. But by the way, Jerry died in 2021 of an infection related to the complications of Dr. Duntsch's operations.
Oh gosh! How long is this time? Like how?
That surgery was okay. So
like how long has he been killing and mutilating people?
I think 2011.
And so his surgery was in 2012. So it's been at least a year he's been doing this.
Yeah.
And so even if like the first one brought on a lawsuit, it takes forever for it to actually happen.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so then after this case, this is when we get to Kelly Martin's case. So we've had a few cases, and then you get to Kelly Martin, who's where I started the story off at the beginning. This is going to be his next patient in the timeline. And after she died, Baylor Plano officials found that Duntsch had failed to meet the standards of care and permanently revoked his surgical privileges. So the hospital initiated a peer review, but okay, Duntsch, it's easier for me to say Duntsch, resigned rather than being terminated.
Mm-hmm.
And this was like purposeful because in order to avoid costs of fighting and possibly losing a wrongful termination suit, the hospitals reached a deal with Duntsch's lawyers in which Duntsch was allowed to resign in return for Baylor Plano issuing a letter stating, and I quote, all areas of concern with regard to Christopher D. Duntsch have been closed. As of this date, there have been no summary or administrative restrictions or suspensions of Dr. Duntsch's medical staff membership or clinical privileges during the time he has practiced at Baylor Regional Medical Center at Plano. It's the longest freaking sentence. That was one sentence. Anyway, they're basically saying like, we don't want bad press, so we're going to not fire him. We're going to have him resign so we don't look bad.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So these hospitals are
all about money.
Horrible.
Yeah.
This is why Johns Hopkins is in. Oh.
Well, and that's why these angels of death can get away with it, hospital after hospital after
Yes.
hospital. They would rather let them resign.
Yes.
Instead of like
and
actually
then if they
go
resign,
after them,
then they can go to millions of
somewhere else
hospitals
and kill other people.
I'm revolting.
That's why I don't trust them.
Fuck around and find out.
Oh my goodness.
So, had Duntsch been fired, Baylor Plano would have been required to report him to the National Practitioner Data Bank, NPDB, I'm dyslexic, which is intended to flag a problematic physician. But they didn't do that because they didn't fire him. And so he was not flagged to this board. And so he was able to continue to do surgeries.
And he got hired.
And he killed more people.
So where did he get hired now? Right down the road.
So they let him quietly resign and move on with no repercussions. And he technically left on his own choice, with him not being reported to the database. And there was no warning to his potential employers. There was no employee history, nothing. Some of his patients did try to sue him for malpractice, but found it was like virtually impossible to find attorneys that were willing to take on their case. So we move on. July 2012. Floella Brown and Mary Eford. Okay. Duntsch moved on to Dallas Medical Center. So he's at a different surgical center.
Dallas.
Totally passed the background check. It was, they ran it. It's clear. He's fine. He's good to go. We need a surgeon. Come on, do this thing. Later in that month, he operated on Floella. I'm loving some Floella. I'm going to name my next dog that. Floella. Floella Brown. After surgery, she lost consciousness. Pressure was building up inside her brain for reasons that nobody could explain. And she went into ICU and was in critical condition and was not looking good. While Floella was in ICU, Dr. Duntsch was like, oh, well, I done sent her to ICU. Let me go to my next patient and see if I can send her to ICU. So he goes in, he does another surgery on 71-year-old Mary Eford. Before the surgery started, the nurses spotted a hole in Dr. Duntsch's scrubs, like in the buttocks area, lower back, showing that he was not wearing underwear. And one of the nurses was like, I've been staring at that same hole for 3 days.
Oh, he has not showered.
So it's clear that he's not changing his scrubs between surgeries or anything else. And he's probably just been up on a Coke binge.
Binging.
Just like this. Just make it make sense.
He likes the control.
He likes
the power and the control.
You're so gone. No, I think he eventually he just turns into he just wants to kill people. I think he just
power. He likes the power.
Yeah, and but why even try to? I don't know. I don't even know how you can fake being so bad. I guess I can. Anyway, I gotta keep going. I'm gonna get frustrated. So, hole in his pants during a surgery, and he's operating, and the staff starts asking questions. They're like, why are you just drilling in random areas of her back? They were like, why are you doing that? And he was just very careless, and he was just drilling a right way he's basically Dexter, but bad Dexter. And just drilling and drilling. After the surgery, Mary, so we have two people we're talking about, Floella and we're talking about Mary. Yeah. Right? So Floella had hers. She's in ICU. Then he leaves and he goes and he's doing Mary. And
he's got a twofer.
Yeah. So after the surgery, after surgery on Mary, Duntsch told the nurse that he wanted to perform on Floella a craniotomy.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. He said, okay, craniotomy. This involves cutting a hole into the skull to relieve pressure on the brain. And the nurse was shocked and said, Dallas Medical Center does not perform those. We are not lobotomists.
Yeah.
We do not do lobotomies, which that's what it sounds like to me, is you're trying to do some kind of fucking lobotomy. He's like, we do not perform those, and also we do not have the equipment to do that. Luckily, Duntsch backed down, and Floella was moved to another hospital. By the way, she never regained consciousness, and her family had to take her off life support, and she died a few days later.
Oh, my gosh.
Turns out that Duntsch misdiagnosed the source of Floella's pain in the first place and was operating in the totally wrong spot, which triggered a stroke, which led to her death.
Oh, my gosh.
And that's Floella. Mary then she's pulled back into surgery. And this is with another doctor. This is this is Dr. Henderson. He's operating on her now. So there's 3 holes in Mary's spinal column where Duntsch had tried and failed to insert several screws. One screw had hit the nerves that control the leg and the bladder. Dr. Henderson discovered that Dr. Duntsch had amputated one of her nerve roots. This was inexplicable how the surgery had gone so badly and why was it so botched? Don't know. Dr. Henderson was like, is this some kind of like imposter dressing up and pretending to be a surgeon? Because what is actually happening? Mary is now in a wheelchair and has never regained mobility in her legs. Okay. So now
These people better get a lot of money.
Dr. Henderson and Dr. Kirby, and they are both talking, and they are pissed, and they have both assisted this guy, and they're comparing stories, and they're like, this guy needs to be stopped. But the hospital officials told Duntsch that he would not be able to do any more operations at Dallas Medical Center, but he was allowed to leave quietly.
Oh, fucking hey. I thought Henderson was going to do something.
Well, it's not their choice. It's this board. Whatever these boards are. Whoever's on board of anything.
Crooked.
I'm like, fuck you. Board. Months and months later, and multiple catastrophic and fatal surgeries, finally Duntsch was reported to the state medical board, and it would take almost a whole year for the board to investigate.
So he had to go to a whole nother hospital for it to happen.
Yes. And I'm sure they can't hear that, right? So, this type of stuff with Dr. Duntsch, on and on and on and on and on. There's, I could probably go through 10 more, but that would be a 3-hour podcast or a 4-part podcast. So on and on. Dr. Kirby raises hell. He writes a 6-page letter to the Texas Medical Board saying that Duntsch was not performing operations. Instead, he was attempting murder.
Kirby was the one with Henderson earlier.
Yes,
okay.
Kirby and Henderson are also surgeons, but they've assisted with him. Kirby is a one who's finally like fed up with it because he's getting complaints. He's getting anything.
Because he's dealing with the repercussions, even though Duntsch is gone.
Yes,
he's still having to deal with the patients.
Yes. So then he finally like writes a letter to the Texas Medical Board, and that's where he's like, this guy, he's not operating. He's killing people. He's attempting to kill them. He's impaired, and he said that he's an impaired physician and a sociopath who must be stopped from practicing medicine. Mm-hmm. This article, then there was an article that was published, and this is the article that was published that referred to him as Dr. Death, quoting Dr. Kirby in all of the findings. Gosh. And that will bring me to our first clip of the day. Can I give you a little...
Neurosurgeon has his license suspended after the medical board says his negligence resulted in at least 2 patient deaths. Patients tried to get their medical records from Dr. Christoph Duntsch's office today, but they were turned away.
Yeah, well, Clarice, those frustrated patients were told by somebody on Dr. Duntsch's staff to show up here at his office between 4 and 5 o'clock this afternoon to pick up those medical records. Well, those patients showed up, but as you mentioned, they didn't walk away with anything. And so far, we know that 2 lawsuits have been filed and at least 3 more are on the way.
Carol McMillan
out of luck at Dr. Duntsch's office at the Texas Neurological Institute in Plano. Dr. Duntsch, seen here on Facebook, was scheduled to perform surgery on her tomorrow. On Wednesday, the Texas Medical Board issued a temporary suspension order of Duntsch's license because of imminent peril to public health and cited impairment by drugs or alcohol. Mary Eford claims in her lawsuit she has permanent nerve damage because of Dr. Duntsch's negligence.
Despite being on the maximum amount of narcotics, that she prayed to God to take her every single day. She cried every single day.
54-year-old Kelly Martin, mother of two and wife of a Garland police officer, died from massive bleeding and is patient number 2 cited in the suspension order. Duntsch has had surgical privileges at several North Texas hospitals, but most recently had them revoked at University General Hospital in Dallas. A temporary suspension really doesn't refer to any specific time frame. It's more of a move that is done fairly quickly by the board when they feel that there is some sort of imminent threat posed by a doctor. I was told that the doctor will have a chance at some point to defend himself before the board, but that would likely happen over a series of hearings. It could take several weeks or even longer. Clarice?
Natalie Solis live tonight in Plano. Thank you.
Wow.
Okay, and so like they mentioned Kelly, who was the one that I talked about at the very beginning of the story. So finally on December 6, 2013, the Texas Medical Board revoked Duntsch Death's license. He then moved to Colorado and Denver. And this is when he went on this downward spiral. And he filed for bankruptcy after listing debts of over $1 million.
Oh, my gosh.
He was arrested for DUI in Denver. He was taken for a psychiatric evaluation in Dallas. So I guess he's just Denver and Dallas. And I think he has kids. Well, he does have kids because it said he was arrested in Dallas during one of his visits to see his children.
But they changed their last name.
And he was also arrested in Dallas for shoplifting, and I'm going to tell you that right now. In March 2014, police were called to a bank in Dallas after people saw a man with blood on his hands and face banging on the doors trying to get in. It was Dr. Duntsch. And he was wearing his scrubs. He was incoherent, saying something about his family being in danger. He was taken immediately to a psychiatric hospital. His father sent him money because he didn't have any, but he was then caught in a Dallas Walmart filling a cart with almost $1,000 of watches, sunglasses, computer equipment, and cologne, and he bagged them up to hide them before picking up some clothes, going into the dressing room, putting on the clothes, and then trying to walk out the front door, but was stopped by security and arrested for shoplifting. What the hell? I mean, listen. So that's March 2014, and then we go fast forward to July 2015. 46-year-old Christopher Duntsch was arrested on 5 aggravated assault charges, 1 count of injury to an elderly person, Mary Eford, and he was accused of maiming 3 patients and causing at least the death of 2 people. And here's another.
Is one of them his best friend, his friend?
Probably.
Start tonight with a North Texas doctor charged for what happened in his operating room during surgery. Dr. Christopher Duntsch is a neurosurgeon and now faces charges of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, his scalpel. Duntsch is accused of butchering patients and botching surgeries of 5 Dallas area patients who either died or are now scarred for life. News 8's Brett Shipp was among the first to expose these allegations, and you're joining us with the latest.
That's right, Shelley. We first revealed the allegations against Dr. Duntsch in 2013 of case after case of botched surgeries, of alleged drug abuse and reckless indifference toward his patients who will now try to help put him behind bars. Victims and their attorneys say Duntsch was building a resume of alleged botched surgeries of paralyzed patients and, in 2 cases, death. While Duntsch was operating on Lee Passmore of Frisco, an assisting surgeon had to intervene. Jim Gerards is Passmore's attorney.
Dr. Duntsch had to be physically restrained by the surgeon that was operating with him because that second surgeon recognized that Duntsch was doing things that were not explainable, that were extremely dangerous.
Other patients have similar stories. Duntsch's former roommate, Jerry Summers, will never walk again.
Hospital staff knew that Dr. Duntsch had a gallon jug of vodka under his desk, that a baggie of white powder had been found in his bathroom.
Duntsch remains behind bars tonight on $600,000 bond.
Ah, that must be it. Yes, $600,000 bond. Okay, so in February 2017. Do you need to process that? Do you need, process it?
I can't.
I know it cut off abruptly.
Well, no. I was just thinking he didn't get for the roommate's murder because he didn't die till the other day.
Yeah.
So it was some other people's murder that died, I guess, suddenly. But the hospital staff that knew he had vodka under his desk and cocaine. So the vodka I might can excuse because maybe after a long night of surgery, you have a nightcap before you go home. Maybe. Yeah. But cocaine, I don't.
Especially if you have it okay at work.
Yes.
Like, obviously you're no. You are surgerying on people. No, you don't need to have anything. And if you do, why are you go work somewhere else? I don't know. It's just, I don't know. In February 2017,
I think they're just as liable.
Duntsch was finally sentenced, and he was sentenced to life in prison with a minimum term of 30 years, and he's not eligible for parole until 2045 when he will be 74 years old. But in June 2023, so like 2 days ago, Texas Governor Greg Abbott signed a bill that would he signed a bill into law that would give the state's medical board additional ability to protect the patients from potentially dangerous doctors. This bill, HB 1998, whatever, was introduced in response to an investigation that found that at least 49 doctors that were practicing in Texas, despite having their license revoked in other states, were still here practicing.
Oh.
So, that's shocking. So, other doctors, this is the thing. Other doctors who are getting, like,
disbarred
from their hospital, they're able to go anywhere else and it's fine. But finally, that's at least one good thing Greg Abbott did. I don't know what else.
Yeah, that might be the only. But but also to come to Texas because we are one of the few states that, like, there's a cap. So I'm wondering how much there's a cap now. And I don't know when this cap happened. But, like, there is a cap on basically medical malpractice. So they're protected when it comes, like the medical staff is protected when it comes to stuff like this. So like Maya Kowalski got millions and millions and millions and millions. It would be almost impossible. It would have to be like a doctor death situation to get something like that here now. But go ahead and tell me what happened.
There was no record of these actions on the Texas Medical Board's physician's profile page, despite being required by law. The new law indicates several provisions which will better enable the board to protect patients and boost transparency. These include the following. So these are the new things that have been enacted. If you do these things, then you will be, I guess, dismissed. Lying on a medical license application will be a Class A misdemeanor. Doctors who have had their medical license revoked, restricted, or suspended in another state will not be allowed to practice in Texas, and all doctors will be required and be fingerprinted as part of a criminal background check and be monitored monthly via the National Practitioner Data Bank.
How does that help the Doctor of Death patients?
At least it helps.
Or how's that related?
I think at least it helps people from coming in from, I guess that's kind of what they were saying.
But that he didn't do that.
Who?
Well, he didn't do anything in another state and come and do it in Texas, right? Like he didn't.
Well,
do
yeah, no, he
started in Texas and stayed in Texas.
Yeah,
right?
Jumped all over the yeah. So
he needs to issue something for these hospitals to take ownership of when a doctor does medical malpractice in your hospital. You have to initiate something right then and there. But I mean, I do appreciate that because it's like a teacher can probably get their teacher certification taken away in California, but come and just take the certification test in Texas, and we'll never know that they got it taken away in California because we're not going to go and check California's records.
Yeah. It's sad that because a lot of these things happen, they're very common, and they go unreported. Or they're reported, but they go nothing's done about them.
Yeah.
Because who wants to fight a hospital?
As of July 2020, many of Dr. Death's victims have just recently received financial compensation totaling over $4 million. So all of those victims together,
that's it,
totaled over $4 million.
I'm pissed.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Our medical system is borked. Well, there you have it, people.
Wow.
And
I'm
listen,
pissed.
you can go listen to Dr. Death. This is the Dr. Death. This is the Dr. Death. It's a whole podcast series. It's also on Peacock if you want to go watch it. It's a mini series or whatever. Now, there's going to be stuff in there they are super detailed and it goes way more into it. So if you want more of a deep dive, go listen to Dr. Death, or go watch the show. This is kind of like a cap, or a summary of it all, but gets the gist of the angels of death or whatever they call it. Like, it's just horrible how these doctors go and they just, like, he eventually won it. He was like enjoying it. So he was, so he was serial killer. Yep, basically. So there you have it. Dr. Douche, Dr. Death, Dr. Duntsch, whatever the freak your name is.
And so the angels of death, they feel like they are saving them. He wanted to inflict pain and suffering.
Yeah, he was
death.
No angel of anything.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. Nope.
Oh, he's the worst. Hey, never trust a hospital.
There you go. Add it to the list of the red flags.
Goodness. All right. Good stuff. We will see y'all next Tuesday for a new episode. Don't forget to
stay aware,
stay alive,
and always be DTF.
Bye, y'all.
Goodbye.
Woo!
Hey, I'm Blair.
And I'm Brittany. And we're the host of
By the Cover Podcast.
We cover everything from mysteries, thrillers, romance, chick lit, and even some smut.
Don't forget the smut.
Yeah.
We're so excited to get this thing going and share this with you guys. We've been talking about this for months, and it's finally happening.
Yes.
Special shout out to Rogue Media for helping us with this.
For sure. You can find us on Instagram at @bythecover_podcast.
You can also find us on Facebook and TikTok, so don't forget to give us a follow on those two also.
We are so excited to dive into some of our favorite books and share those with you.
We can't wait. Hope you love it.
Hi, and welcome to Bustles and Bangers with your hostess, Rachel and Christopher.
I love it when you say my name.
And you didn't say hi.
I didn't. You just kept going. I'm going to introduce the book. I'm not reading it. It's because I don't like reading.
Girls like cowboy butts, and those jeans don't hide anything. Find us on Instagram at Bustles and Bangers or on RogueMediaNetwork.com.
Hey, I'm Katie. And I'm Summer. And this is Monsters in the Attic. So we thought we'd bring people on. Yeah.
It's very real, and we're fortunate to have a lot of friends who have a lot of monsters, and we can't wait to share them with you.
I love that we're so fortunate that we have so many friends with so many monsters. Where can people find us?
Facebook, Instagram, and everywhere they listen to their favorite podcast.
They can find me at my therapist's office.
As they should.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.